day of Judy Garland's funeral, the New York City Police Department pulled a routine raid on a gay bar on Christopher Street in Greenwich Village. The patrons of the Stonewall Inn with bricks, bottles, and fists fought back. A 3-day riot followed and the lesbian gay liberation movement was born. Organizations sprung up across the country almost overnight. The following year, the first Christopher Street Gay Liberation Day parade was held. The 70s raced by, with organizations joining the march representing feminist groups, senior citizens, doctors, lawyers, psychologists, writers, school teachers, and many more. Unknown to anyone at this time was the presence of a strange new and deadly virus. The 80s ushered in a conservative government administration, the moral majority, and AIDS. Many thought the movement was over, but not surprisingly, women and men across the country rallied to the new challenge in unprecedented numbers. And what was once a small group of dissidents parading through Greenwich Village has grown to be the largest organized civil rights march in world history.
Give us an announcement that I think marks something historically. And that is this month, while we're celebrating our 20th anniversary, Jerry Falwell has had to fold up, close down, and declare a failure the moral majority. Hate just ain't selling the way it used to. But the people of Stonewall raised more than their fists and their voices. They raised the hopes and the expectations of multitudes across this country. And they began building. And the stone wall became the cornerstone. Looking around at their legacy, we know what the rest of the country is learning on this 20th anniversary. And that is that Stonewall is alive, Stonewall lives. Whoa! Every time a youngster finds his or her way to the Harvey Milk School, Stonewall lives. Whoa! When openly gay and lesbian candidates run for political office to demand to sit at the table, Stonewall lives. Whoa! When the royal court takes over the Waldorf Astoria, Stonewall lives. When out of love and fighting for her family, Karen Thompson demands to know why Sharon Kowalski can't come home, Stonewall lives. And when AIDS activists demand from the system more, better, faster, now, Stonewall lives. Whoa! And the first time someone has the courage to put on a gay pride button, to step off a curb and join a pride parade, or to tell one other person, just one other person, who they are, who they really are, Stonewall lives.
En route to concentration camps, gays were forced to wear an armband marked with a purple triangle. 250,000 were executed in Nazi Germany. Some of the first laws regulating sexual practice were implemented by the ancient Semites and later passed on to the Romans. Roman canon law became the foundations for Christian law. Although these laws were on the books for centuries, they were for the most part overlooked and never enforced until well into the Middle Ages. Conservative philosophy of Thomas Aquinas was blindly being followed by the illiterate population. It was believed that the good things in life were God's gifts, and the bad things were God's punishment. The deadly and incurable sexually transmitted disease, syphilis, at this time was introduced and rapidly spreading across Europe. Church and state, using fear, prejudice, and superstition, set forth to control the sexual functions of all people. Along with political dissidents, intellectuals, and many other people for many other reasons, sexual deviants were humiliated, castrated, publicly stoned, beheaded, and burned at the stake in order to frighten the masses into adherence to strict church law.
Gays were oppressed by society, but more importantly, society, through its use of cultural power, got gays to suppress themselves. Not only a neat trick, but perhaps the most efficient means of oppression. Aspects of this internalized self-hatred had been fixed in place for centuries by a British law commanding death by hanging for anyone convicted as a practicing homosexual. A law which passed in 1533 was not changed to death by hanging, to merely life imprisonment, until 1861, the first year of our American Civil War, and 51 years before I was born. That socially internalized invisibility of self-hating gays and lesbians was still paramount here in the United States when I founded my Mattachine Society in Los Angeles in 1950. By January of 1970, we had gay liberation fronts in many regions of the country. The 1970s were full of gay ferment. Gay lesbian liberation proliferated by leaps and bounds, maybe even leaping a little too far and bounding a little too fast. But the sleeping giant, that hetero-male-dominated American society, whose fundamentalist hatred of homosexuals had succeeded in persuading us to oppress ourselves for 300 years, turns out to be still running the show and calling the turns. A very prestigious nationwide public opinion poll, querying 2,500 significantly selected areas across the country, asked in 1975 whether their respondents thought that homosexuality was right or wrong. 83% of them queried said they thought it was wrong. Asking that same question in exactly the same places in 1985 revealed that those finding it wrong had dropped from 83% to 81%. 2% in 10 years. Supreme Court Justice Byron White, writing the majority opinion in the 1986 Hardwick decision, knew about that 81%. The Congress who sits on the nation's purse strings and refuses to properly fund our struggle against the AIDS epidemic knows about that 81% too. For all our zaps, our marches and gay pride parades, our movies and documentaries, our star-studded telethons, and extensive radio interviews and electing popular candidates and getting law changes, 81% still thinks homosexuality is wrong. Before I go any further, let me blurt out furiously that that question is a wrong one. Ever since the Holocaust and the Nuremberg trials, we don't send public opinion polls into neighborhoods to require of respondents if they think Jews are wrong. We don't ask the question of whether blacks are wrong, if they think having blue eyes is wrong. The question should be, what is this new dimension these people have to contribute? So just why is that 81% so persistently still in place? Well, perhaps many reasons. Two I will give you here. One, because we let them, our hetero parents, friends, and politicians, tell us, as we like to hear it through our gay window, oh yes, your father and I suspected you were gay. We just want you to know that we love you anyway. Listen to that sentence again through the hetero window. Oh yes, your father and I know you've gone wrong, but we love you anyway. The anyway is the mask that hides the homophobe. The parent, the friend, the politician who has learned nothing from your coming out to them, but who have agreed to accommodate your guilt and sin, as relatives learn to accommodate your sister having married a goy. The anyway reveals these heteros, the parents, the friends, the politicians, to be themselves part of the 81% who think we are wrong. Perhaps it is time to say to that non-thinking accommodation, that knee-jerk tolerance, no more. The second and perhaps more important reason for the stubborn persistence of the 81% is that our predominantly gay-hating hetero society is still mindset upon keeping us gagged by their conspiracy of silence. When in October of 1987 our gay and lesbian folks mounted the largest protest march the United States has ever seen, even Jesse Jackson greeted our numbers at 700,000. Time, Life, Newsweek, admittedly the largest magazine and media conglomerate in the country, saw fit not to publish one word on the event. In this fashion, America's 81% are being deliberately misinformed. This year, the Time, Life, Newsweek conglomerate plans to attempt a merger with Warner Communications, the largest television producer and syndicator in the country. And the potential of that further monopolizing was hinted at when conglomerate members like the LA Times and the New York Times, reporting on the Women's Powerful March of 300,000 pro-choice men and women on April 15th, spoke of this 300,000 person event as the largest that Washington, D.C. has seen since the Martin Luther King 20th anniversary march of 1983. Totally ignoring, no, deliberately obliterating our gay lesbian march of 3 times that number in October of 1987. Dear brothers and sisters, dear gay family, on this 20th century of the Stonewall Rebellion, might we not agree that in reviewing this sorry array of recent caricatures, we have been kidding ourselves long enough? The heteros have been telling us since we were small that we are not the same as they. Could we now not at last begin to take the hint, breaking the conspiracy of silence surrounding us, to appreciate the very different people we are from them and always have been? Isn't it time we began to appreciate that it is one of Mother Nature's great gifts to us to be different? I have always felt that it was a great gift to be gay. If we truly intend to break and dissipate the conspiracy of silence with which we have been surrounded, and in which we have been drowning. I suggest we are going to have to invent new ways, for one thing, to neutralize our compulsion for hetero middle-class drag. More of us shall have to become visible, and some of us are going to have to become more visible. Like me, for instance. So also on this lovely 20th anniversary day, my gay and lesbian family, my beloved family of concert choice, let me, in my Radical Fairy Zuni style skirt variation number 2, let me be your sacred clown, to bring to you the all heel of laughter, the blessings of my irrepressible giggle, and the all heel of my love to you all.
Many miracles have happened in the last 20 years, many miracles. The greatest of them is that 20 years ago, heterosexuals wrote our history. We write it now. "20 years ago, we needed the Kinsey Institute to tell us that we existed. We raise our hands now and say, here we are. Count us." And so today, 20 years after Stonewall, I come to ask you to reaffirm what has been happening for the past 20 years. I ask you to declare for the heterosexual press, no more lies.
Whoa! Whoa!
When you buy a newspaper tonight and they have not told the truth about today, as they won't, don't just be mad. Call them up. Write a letter. No more lies. When they cover the parade tomorrow and they show 100,000 of us, but they give equal time to 20 assholes protesting against us, call up the TV stations and say, no more lies. But the most important thing you can do is every day in your own life, in your own home, in your relationships with your family, your friends, and your jobs, tell yourself, no more lies.
Enough. I've stayed up all night with these boys and all my life enjoyed their handsome joys. I came with many companions to this dawn. Now I'm tired and must put down my pen. Reader, hearer, this time understand how kind it is for men to love a man. Old love and present, future love the same. Hear and read what love is without shame. I want people to understand. They can. So open your ears and hear the voice of the classical band.
People,
In the summer of 1969, when drag queens and street people were fighting the cops at Stonewall Inn, I had just finished my junior year in high school in St. Joseph, Missouri. Gay was merely a synonym for happy. I knew, of course, what homosexuals were. They were the most disgusting, sickening, perverted, vile things that had ever walked the face of the earth. They'd totally forsaken God's ways. Their only hope was in the blood of Jesus, and if they would repent and sin no more, he would forgive them. Then, and only then, they would be happy. You see, I wasn't queer. This was a normal adolescent phase. These tendencies would pass. I was not queer. The first time I heard of gay liberation was when I read in Time or Newsweek about some militant homosexuals who had stormed the American Psychiatric Association's meeting demanding they not be labeled sick. I was a student at Texas Christian University. They were sick. They needed help. I went to a psychiatrist. He gave me a battery of tests that told me that I was not homosexual, just had a problem relating to women. It could be fixed, he told me. And he gave me behavior modification exercises to teach me that vaginas were warm and beautiful, and that my penis was the only one I would ever need. It worked! I got engaged. This was the final cure. I wasn't a faggot. I was a real man. As soon as I got married and had a few kids, this would all be over. She broke it off because of nightmares, and I knew God was giving her a sign. So I joined a monastery. There, I met Bill from Chicago. He told me a guy could be with other men and still be a decent, happy person. He told me there were organizations, clubs, and bars where gay men met and became friends, even lovers. This was radical information to me. Impossible, I concluded, back to the confessional. Never, never again would we stray from the path to glory. A gay rag in that area printed an article about the Dallas Gay Political Caucus. So I went for a meeting. It was headed by a hairdresser and a truck driver. The truck driver was the butchest person I had ever seen. She even made my dad look like a wimp. The hairdresser was my worst self-image fears personified. No, this wasn't for me. Maybe I really wasn't gay. Then a coup d'etat. Normal gays took over the DGPC. I went to a meeting. I joined. I got involved. We dressed in wingtip shoes, carried briefcases, wore three-piece suits, and told the bigots the politically correct phrase that we were just like them, except for with whom we went to bed. In 1979, I decided I was ahead of the times in Texas, but behind them in San Francisco. Where there wasn't a gay organization, there were hundreds. I moved. It literally scared the hell out of me when I immersed myself into the frivolity of the adolescence that I had never been allowed to have. But I got over my fears, and I found myself with friends who accepted me for who I was, as I was. I even found I was a likable guy. It's 1989. It's 1989. For 3 years, I've had AIDS. I live on welfare in Brooklyn. Often I'm asked, if you had the chance, would you do anything over differently? My answer, you bet. 2 things. I'd have worn condoms earlier, and secondly, I would have always known that there is absolutely no reason why gay, and happy can't be synonyms. Happy, happy gay and lesbian pride, my people.
AIDS has been an infection of despair in our community. A despair that has the dangerous potential of leading to despondency and then to hopelessness. Our enemies certainly use AIDS in an attempt to kill our gay hope. They suggest that AIDS is God's punishment, that we deserve AIDS for our wanton sexuality. Certainly AIDS and HIV-related illness continue to exact a tragic toll on our community. As we mourn and grieve over one another of our sisters and brothers, we all, both individually and as a community, can be overwhelmed with despair. But even in that overwhelming despair, we can see hope. We can see that that which was desired is now possible. AIDS is not an automatic death notice. It is possible to survive with AIDS. There are people living with AIDS and HIV infection. We do not have to give in to despair. As others have pointed out, AIDS as a symbol represents a challenge to gay people. By injecting us with despair, AIDS challenges us to renew our hope. By bringing out our enemies, AIDS challenges us to continue to fight for our liberation. There is a way to meet that challenge. There is an antidote to despair. We can act. We can act up. We can empower ourselves and our community to continue the process of our liberation. The lessons are all around us. Liberation is never given to a people. Liberation is the product of struggle, the reward of action. The power to drive that action is within ourselves. As each one of us is empowered, then our community can be empowered. We can unleash our power. We celebrate Stonewall. We celebrate the advent of gay hope. And as we go beyond this weekend, as we go beyond celebration, we must act to make real that which we now know is possible. In closing, I would like to leave you with an image that I found in a quote that was used by Leo Buscaglia in a book. We are each of us angels with one wing. We can only fly embracing each other. Thank you very much.
This is the true legacy of Stonewall, to build a movement that is home for every last person who is queer, which means people of color, American Indians, Latinos, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, Arab Americans, African Americans, Jews, working poor people, working class people, homeless people, people with AIDS, differently abled people, elders, and many more besides. And you can't build a movement that's home for everybody by merely turning your attention to eradicating oppressive attitudes within our lesbian and gay movement. It's not enough, for example, to explore your own racism and to make sure you watch yourself when you're interacting with people of color. The only way to attack, transform, and ultimately dismantle racism is to attack it root and branch, which means institutionally and the society as a whole. What this means quiet as it's kept is that the lesbian and gay movement has got to concern itself with racism as it destroys the lives of non-lesbian and non-gay people of color, women, men, and children. The only way to eradicate racism and class oppression and all the other isms within our movement is to dismantle them in the society as a whole. The course of the AIDS epidemic, which we are now fighting so valiantly, perfectly illustrates how all of these oppressions are tied together and why we must confront them simultaneously. AIDS has exposed a healthcare system that serves almost no one, a healthcare system that is based upon profit. We need to understand, painful as it is, why a white man with AIDS generally lives for a period of several years, while a black or Latino person with AIDS usually only survives a few months. We have got to change. We're not there yet. As someone who is officially middle-aged, I'm glad to know I can still change. It should delight us that, in the words of a black minister from long ago, we're not where we want to be, we're not where we're going to be, but thank God we're not where we were.
We are not a people of one great moment of history. We are a people whose courage has been tested through the generations. The one demand that is made on us is to be seen and heard for what we are, women who make love with women and men who make love with men. As we gather in greater and greater numbers, so do those who hate us, those who would watch us die rather than touch our bodies, those who call our art a moral pollutant and want it pulled from their museums, those who want us to be sexually controlled and domesticated and yet declare our relationships illegal. Our most courageous answer to this barrage of exclusion is to go on living our lives without betrayal of our diversity, of our knowledge of our people's history, and our way of loving. You are the spirit of Stonewall. You, your faces, words, touches, are the living legacy of our people's history. But I wouldn't deny it, even though I was getting my brains beaten out. I would never stand up and say, no, don't hit me. I'm not gay. I'm not gay. I wouldn't do that.
Gay America, wonderful. Paid off getting my ass kicked.
Remembering the Stonewall.
Sylvia, China,
Happy Gay Pride.
Ivan and Darius. Ivan and Darius. Oh, I'm sorry. I dropped my powder puff again.
while the Stonewall riots were happening, gay liberation was being born, I was being shuttled off to Camp Run-Amok. What can I say? I missed a good time even back then. But not quite 4 years later, I began an incarceration at a proper boys' boarding school in Connecticut. I knew I liked boys. I thought I was homosexual, but I didn't think I was gay. I didn't know if I was really enjoying myself. But, you know, I would take the train from Brooklyn, the IRT number 2, and we'd rattle past the Christopher Street stop. And I'd see Christopher Street, and I would know, God, you know, I'd have fun if I got off here. I'd be gay if I got off at Christopher Street. I never made that detour. I graduated prep school, cum laude, no less. Anyway, I was 18 when that all happened. I knew there was a real big gay world out there. I wanted to explore it. I figured, shit, I could be a hairdresser, to hell with college. That's what boys like me did, you know, burn hair. Mother wouldn't hear of it. So I went to college. I chose a school out in Southern California because I knew LA, God, you could be real gay in LA. So I went to LA. Unfortunately, I chose a really very conservative men's college out there. What can I say? I like boys. But, you know, I had lots of surprises. I picked this college from a catalog, so I didn't know much about it. When I got there, I found out they had a gay students union. Honey, it was very popular, and so was I. We were having a real good time. Mother still wouldn't hear of it. Anyway, I came home for the summer vacation, and I began exploring the village. Christopher Street was everything, absolutely everything I'd imagined it would be when I was going to prep school. By the time I was 20, I actually celebrated my first Gay Pride Day. I was having incredible amounts of fun. And I really knew I was gay by that point. By the time I was 25, I actually marched in the parade. It had finally gone down Fifth Avenue. I was a young Upper East Sider, so that was much more convenient. And honey, I was getting gayer by the minute. What could be better? I mean, nothing could be better, I thought, but who knew? This is the third Pride Parade and festivities that I'm officially a part of. That's incredible for me to believe. I see you all, and I want to thank all of you who watch me on television, on Gay Cable Network, for the support and the love that you give to me. And I just want to thank you all for letting me able to do this for you. Before the day is over, I want to wish you all a very gay weekend, and be well. Or should I say, have a well weekend and be gay. Thanks so much. See you tomorrow walking down Fifth Avenue. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Move the baby onto the sidewalk, please. Sir, you got to go on the sidewalk. Move the baby onto the sidewalk, please, or the baby carriage. Sir, you got to go on the sidewalk.
I'd like to start. Could we play the street a little bit?
I'm gonna let it
sometimes you have to balance great affairs of state with all the other things you want to do. Now, it so happens that our daughter from Atlanta, with 3 grandchildren, descended on us. Somebody, we pulled straws, of course, to see who would do the babysitting and who would do the public speaking. Ruby got the grandchildren, and you got me. I want to take advantage of your hospitality to make a public announcement. There is a young man from my boss's office. I work for Spike Lee, and his name is Curtis. Curtis, I'm up here. He's looking for me. Now, brothers and sisters, this is a beautiful day, and you look absolutely magnificent. As a matter of fact, if I had thought, I should have brought the grandchildren on down here, but, I'm getting slow. But to speak more to the issue, it's very easy, even for somebody who claims to be knowledgeable and sensitive, who's been in the struggle for a long time, to overlook certain things about all of us and not pay the proper attention until somebody pulls our coattail. The Ruby was working in a play on Broadway, which I had read, she had read, I had seen, and I had liked. It was only when somebody from Gay Pride wrote and told us that some of the passages in the play were anti-gay. And upon reflection, it turned out to be, in our opinion, that that was indeed the fact. And it shows 2 things. That nobody is always as smart as he thinks he is, number 1. And number 2, that those who are oppressed, those who are dealt the blows, must be the ones to speak in their own interest. When we got the message about the contents of the play and found that we agreed, we went to the management. We went to the playwright, and the playwright said, well, the material is not germane to the values or the plot, so I'm willing to change it. But the producers wouldn't let the playwright change. So I felt, and Ruby felt, that the time had come for us to take a public stand so that not only the producers and the playwrights, but all our friends in and out of the gay community and the rest of the world should know exactly where we stood on this important issue. So I appreciate very much your giving me this chance to spend a minute or 2 to express my solidarity and Ruby's solidarity with you in this struggle, which, as you well know, is a part of a larger struggle. It seems that the son of a bitches and the bastards are always the same people. So, wherever the fight goes on against them, if you care, that is your fight too. We have to join hands. But let me, before I close, give you an incident from our own experience, Ruby's and mine, that taught us something about struggle. We were married in 1948. We were well known. We'd been across the country We've been to Hollywood with a Broadway smash called Anacasta, and we thought that our names, being so well known on Broadway and Hollywood, would guarantee that the highway to success would be open to us. We married, took an apartment in the Bronx, and sat there watching the phone not ring. It didn't ring from Broadway. It didn't ring from Hollywood. It didn't ring much at all that year. So we sat and watched each other slowly starve to death. Along about that time, there was a tremendous furor. An awful thing had happened to two young people who had children, whose names were Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. And there was a tremendous furor. That same bunch that we identified by giving them curse word names a short while ago had reached out and plucked these two people and decided that they should be executed because of their supposed differences with the policies of our government. But at any rate, we were approached to appear, Ruby was approached to appear at a benefit for the Rosenbergs, at a rally to save the Rosenbergs at Carnegie Hall. And of course, there we sat facing each other. Great decisions to be made. Dare we, who were already black, go out and do something which would make us, in addition to being black, at which we were starving, should we also be reds and starve twice as fast? You know how the question poses itself to you. For a lot of us, you know, we are allies to all great causes. It's just that we don't want to show ourselves because the boss will hear or someone else will hear and the job opportunities will fade away. So Ruby and I said, Ruby, how can we show our face even in this great cause when that producer who might call or that writer who might write would want to include us, but then we become controversial. We would therefore lose the job that we have. And of course the question came, what job is that? We didn't have a job. So Ruby decided, to hell with it. I mean, I ain't got no job. They can't fire me. So I'm going to go down. And I'm going to go down to Carnegie Hall and say my piece. Ruby went down, you know, and there was a big program. I didn't go because, like now, I had to babysit our own children, so we usually split up in a good cause. You know, Ruby goes, I go, and then somebody stays home. But I had to stay home that night. She went, and she said something, I don't know what it was. There in the audience were two people, Howard De Silva, Morris Konofsky, and they were in the process of casting a play at that time. They looked up on the stage and said, hey, why don't we put that young lady in the play that we're going to do? So the moral of the story is, don't run away from struggle. Your next producer may be sitting in the audience. God bless you.
Put your hands together, everybody. Come on. Give your hands to the struggle. Don't be waiting for nobody to show you the way. Just move. Give your hands to struggle. Yeah. All right. Give your hands to struggle. All right. Yeah, yeah. I think There comes a time when you just gotta rise. You've been down so long that you can't remember why. There comes a time when you just gotta stand. You realize inside someone will give you a helping hand. You gotta stand up strong. Say I'm proud to be me. I got my own sense of pride and my dignity. There comes a time, and the time is soon. We gotta find the piper and I have to change the tune. There comes a time, and the time is now. You realize inside that you always knew how. You gotta stand up strong. Say I'm proud to be me. I got my own sense of pride and my dignity. Bless y'all and keep on fighting. We'll see you again.